Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. Today I want to give you guys another Diablo 4 build guide, and it's for a project that I've kind of had in the works even before Diablo 4 actually released. And it has to do with making a character built around Deathspeaker's pendant. So, Season 2 is up, and we have a lot of the details, and there's a lot of things that kind of come together to actually really push specifically this playstyle. Up until Season 2, this build was terrible. So what changed? So Overpower changed, and I'm not going to stay here and give you guys kind of the information on exactly how it works, because Overpower had such a large multitude of hidden mechanics in previous seasons that it's really difficult to say with confidence that Blizzard has fully standardized the damage across the board. Hopefully they have, like they said, but there's so many things they've had to change that I just don't know if that is entirely the case. This build is going to be pretty complicated, but I think it is going to be pretty strong, and it's certainly going to be really unique and deliver to the playstyle that people imagine when they first, laid their eyes on this amulet. If I go over something a bit too quickly and you want to see the written guide, home of the KRIPP builds is on Mobalytics. This build specifically is going to be in the description below, so you guys can check out the written guide and get all the details worked out. So, what do they do to Deathspeaker's pendant? So, first of all, Overpower works off of the base damage. It doesn't work off of some imaginary damage anymore. However, Deathspeaker's pendant has a damage value on it. So that means that the base damage of the overpowers of the blood surges, so that blood nova thing, that come from your minions will still have some of the old mechanics. They won't use the base damage of your weapon, I believe. Now, this is a good thing because that means that we can use a one-handed weapon to cast significantly more blood surges, and even though the one that comes from your character will do a little bit less damage, that damage penalty of using a one-hander will not be applied to the blood surges that get copied from your minions if you are using this amulet. Now, this build might take a little bit to take off, but I don't think it will take a lot. This amulet is one of the most common unique items on Necromancer, and I don't believe that will change in the future. Also, Blood Surge, the Blood Nova, is considered the best leveling build in Diablo 4 for like up until level 50 or 60. It's just such a good skill. So you can just kind of play a build that's whatever scaling Blood Surge, and then when you get the Deathspeaker pendant, you can start kind of tuning the build, including some minions. Because when you cast Blood Surge, you get blood surges spawning from your minions. And this is kind of where we get into the Season 2 update. There's a lot of things that actually let you do this now. So minions have always gotten your defensive stats, but it's never been quite enough in the past. They just didn't really survive until you actually invested in minion survivability. If you invested in minion survivability, you would quite significantly lower the damage output of your overpower skills, and that combination just simply didn't work. With minions, all of them across the board in all the classes getting they can't take a max hit of over 30% of their life, that's new, that increases their survivability tremendously. They also had a change where if you get a blood orb, your minions, by default, built into their mechanics, will heal for, I think, 15% of your maximum life. Now, it is my understanding that minions actually have an incredibly low life pool, so as long as we're stacking life, those blood orbs can heal for almost their entire life pool in some cases. We're sacrificing the golem, and we're putting life wherever we can get it. We're targeting life on the Paragon tree. This character is going to have a crazy amount of life, about as much as you can get in this game, and we're going to be churning out blood orbs like crazy, so our minions should survive just from those set of new mechanics, which allows us to entirely focus on our character on spamming Blood Surge. So this is why I believe this is going to work. They've also reduced the power of most things in the game and monster health to accompany that as well. But Unlike most reductions, the damage of the Death Speaker Pendant Blood Surge, which is set on this item, has actually been increased by 33%. So it wasn't a very good build before, but there's literally like 10 reasons why this build is getting massively improved. It is going to be quite experimental, but I know a lot of you guys that check out my content certainly like taking on experiments and making it work. This is the starting point, and I have spent quite a lot of time trying to figure this out, so I hope it suits you well. So how does this work? So we get Hemorrhage just to have a basic skill, and there is a reason to have a basic skill other than the fact that it can generate blood orbs and essence, but hey, it generates blood orbs and essence. That's actually a pretty damn good basic skill. We get the core skills, cost more essence but deal more damage. That should be fine. Even though Blood Surge has a pretty large essence cost, we have a multitude of mechanics that give us back a lot of that cost. If an enemy is damaged by Blood Surge Nova while you are healthy, so over 80% life, which should be all the time, you get a stack of Overwhelming Blood. When you have 5, your next Blood Surge overpowers. The proc from the amulet is entirely your damage. It's just positioned where your minions are. Let me repeat that. If you increase the damage of your minions, it will not increase the damage of your Blood Surge procs from them. As such, we are not scaling minion damage much at all. The minions still get 30% of the stats that you give them, so they're going to do a non-trivial amount, which I expect should help quite considerably against the bosses and whatnot. But this is very much an overpowered Nova character that also has minions, and we can take advantage of their utility and survivability boosts. We don't scale 5 points in Blood Surge because I think there's better things to get, but maybe not. I think before you have the pendant, 5 points in Blood Surge is probably a good idea. It's just when they start taking the base damage of the amulet, the Blood Surge ranks don't matter for that portion of the damage. So we actually are using Skeleton Warriors and mages, but we're not using the golem. We're sacrificing the golem for a 10 life multiplier. I think that's pretty good. I'm actually getting 3 points in thorns because we're healing so much and the minions are healing so much. I think the thorns, especially until the very late stage of this build, will actually give you a pretty fair amount of damage overall. Decrepify to reduce some cooldowns. Damage to curse. Damage around you, 5 points in Corpse Tendrils, but we're not using Corpse Tendrils for Vuln because we don't have to, because of the new Vampiric powers. We're using Corpse Tendrils has 35% chance to drop a Blood Orb when damaging enemies. That is a extremely powerful effect. It's just that previously for blood builds, we couldn't really get vulnerable in any other way, so we had to use the other one. This has changed. Another big reason. Most of the blood passives have been changed. The Gruesome Mending gives you healing from all sources. Healing is really valuable because the healing is going to be passed on to the minions. And Rothma's Vigor gives you overpowers every 12 seconds, but based on how much healing you get from your blood orbs, you reduce that by 2 seconds a pop. Now, if you can heal for much more from each blood orb, this reduction is going to go down consistently. So it should be very effective for that. Blood skills have a chance to spawn a blood orb. It has a 4-second cooldown. We don't have a lot of lucky hit, but it should give you a few blood orbs when you really need them. Blood orb, 18% more damage, 15% more overpowered damage, and 30 if you are healthy. We use Bone Storm because it gives you DR, and it hits a lot of times, and most importantly, we are using, wherever it is here, Shielding Storm. That will give you a barrier, and if you're taking damage while you have a barrier, not only is it not dropping your life below that healthy threshold, but you're also not losing Fortify. You get the damage reduction benefits of Fortify, but until you take life damage, your Fortify persists at its full value, which is very useful. We actually get Inspiring Leader because 12 attack speed is 12 attack speed. Minions will get it as well. We do have to use Ray Skeletons to actually spawn skeletons, but we don't have to use the Blood Mist because we have Metamorphosis, which gives us 4 seconds of Unstoppable after an evade. And we get movement speed for that, and we get damage for that, and we get primary resource for that. Anticipation for Bone Storm. Prey of the Weak. So enemies are vulnerable while affected by Vampiric Curse from your other vampiric powers. So Metamorphosis is going to basically make them vulnerable. If we evade through mobs, they just have vulnerable on them. So that's pretty nice. And we're going to get quite a number of movement speed things from the basic skill usage, attack speed and movement speed, and we're going to convert all of that move speed into attack speed additionally. So this is going to be an extremely high attack speed character. Now, again, Blood Surge, it's a 30 essence cost skill. You're going to need quite a lot of mechanics to fix that high cost so you can spam it. So we're using the Skeleton Cold Mages with 2 extra mages. So every hit, they're going to give you 2 essence. We have Mother's Embrace. If a core skill hits 4 or more enemies, 20 to 40% of the cost is refunded. This item is much better in Season 2 because they changed the base stats on the item to be more desirable stats, and they are pretty desirable stats, I would say. Potent Blood, while healthy, blood orbs grant 10 to 20 essence. It's pretty good. We do still want to get like the extra skeletons, 2 mages and 2 warriors, because each minion is going to spawn a little nova through the Death Speaker pendant. And we're using Rothma's Chosen to give us another 50 attack speed. This is a one-hander, not a two-hander, so it's 50 attack speed, not 100, when our blood skills overpower, which is all the time. And we have Aspect of Disobedience. We're going to have so many hits, it should be quite easy to keep this up. In terms of the Paragons, this is a little bit of a weird one because they changed how a lot of things scale, but some of the mechanics are still difficult to obtain. You're not going to consistently fortify to as much as you would like if you don't use the Fortify glyph. So we have to use the Fortify glyph. We're going to be using the Control glyph because it just has a high bonus and it applies a little bit of damage to the minions. Why not? All overpower attacks has been reduced from 50 to 35, but we're going to get overpower off each of the novas when the main one goes off. We're using Territorial. Generally, targets should be around you. And we're getting the Essence on Kill. This is some of the secret sauce for like clearing. When you're against the boss, the Cold Mages generating 2 Essence each time they attack should give you significant essence back on single target. But when you're running through like rooms and trying to clear stuff, it usually takes a second or 2 for your minions to actually lock on a target. Their essence gain is not going to be as effective, so you really do want to get these nodes, and we're in that board just for that reason. Nearby Corpses, this is obviously a very popular one, and we use the maximum willpower for the overpower bonus with a Dominate glyph. I got just a little bit of Wither just to get a little bit more healing and maximum life. Maximum life is very good because it's more healing, and more healing not only does it improve the overpower damage and your survivability, of course, but we're also going to be getting faster recharges from our ultimate ability for forced overpowers. And the curse skills get a little bit of blue juice there. Overall, I think this build is going to be quite powerful, but most of all, it's finally going to deliver on this unique item, I think. Let me know how it goes. I hope it'll go pretty well, and enjoy Season 2.